Hi, I'm Davy Ward Erickson,
And I'm Elena Salks.
and you are listening to Sex is Medicine, your number one resource for holistic sex education. Elena and I are bringing you over 27 years of combined expertise in the field of holistic sexual wellness to help you integrate your body, mind, spirit, and sex.
New episodes drop every Thursday morning, so make sure to like and subscribe on all your favorite listening platforms. And make sure you follow Holistic Sexology Institute on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for your daily dose of Sex is Medicine. Now let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to Sex is Medicine. I am Davy Ward Erickson.
And I am Elena Salks.
And we are excited and delighted, as always, to have you here again for another episode of Sex is Medicine, where Elena and I synthesize our 27 years of combined expertise and deliver it through a holistic lens to support you in liberating body, mind, spirit, and sex. Woohoo! So we are back again today to answer a question about premature ejaculation and addressing it and healing it through holistic methods. So basically, the question is, can I heal or can a man heal premature ejaculation with holistic methods? The answer is yes. And speaking of healing premature ejaculation or any type of ejaculation at all, our hot topic today we're going to talk about Nick Cannon having 12 babies as a trauma response to his divorce from Mariah Carey. So if you haven't heard about this, our dear friend Nick Cannon, who I almost actually met on when I was doing season 2 of Love and Hip Hop Couples Retreat. He was one of the couples that was supposed to be there, but unfortunately had to be called away due to an emergency. So I wasn't able to meet him, but bless his heart. But he says, as you can see in our screen share, he says he appeared on the Breakfast Club on Monday morning, where he said that having 10 kids after his divorce from Mariah Carey was a trauma response. And they're saying we can't help roll our eyes a little bit. Half the population gets a divorced dude, and you don't see them welcoming a dozen kids. But what he says is having all those kids was careless and frivolous, according to Cannon and everyone else. I had the money, I had the access to whoever and however I wanted to move. Then obviously life happens as well. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go have 12 kids. It was more about, yo, I'm just going to live life and have fun, and whatever happens, happens. I can handle it. So he was working off his trauma from being heartbroken from the Queen, Mariah Carey, just the Queen, by just having fun. And I would say to Nick Cannon and all y'all who want to, process your trauma that way, like no shade, like, we all process our trauma in our own unique way. But semen retention is a thing, and condoms, I mean, like that's a thing. But I understand for folks who are in committed partnerships where everyone knows their STI status, they like that fluid bond situation. And in that case, semen retention is an effective method of birth control. I am standing here 20 years into it, never been pregnant in the last 20 years, and the only birth control methods I used were semen retention, right? Not STI, because when I was having sex with people that we weren't fluid bonding, then we were using condoms, which is a barrier method. But for those wonderful humans that I had the opportunity to fluid bond with, we use semen retention and fertility awareness. And I'm saying 2 decades, it worked. So, and still counting. So I know I'm not the only one. I'm using myself as an example, but I'm not the only one. So there are other methods of birth control besides, again, what Western society decides is appropriate for you. So Nick Cannon, my hot take on it is you should learn semen retention, dude. And if you would like to, we can help. We can help. So you can have all the fun and none of the consequences in that way, anyway. Anything you want to add to that, Elena?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much my hot take too. Yeah, if you're I understand, kind of having something bad happen and just being a little wild and reckless. It's funny when you first told me about this hot take, I guess whatever my orientation is, I was like, oh, how is I was imagining him with this like the same person having 10 kids. And I was like, how is that a trauma response? But reading it now, I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe he was
He was having a
having sex
lot
with
of
a lot
fun
of
with
people,
a lot of,
and
yep.
this was the product. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to the importance of understanding, safe sex, either through semen retention or barriers, like you said, and all of us just remembering to try to be safe to the best of our ability, even when we're feeling overwhelmed or
Well,
upset.
and I will say about Nick Cannon is, at least from appearances, it does seem to appear that he's showing up for these kids. So it's one thing to have 12 kids because you're having a trauma response. It's a whole other thing to take care of these babies. So shout out to him for showing up for, hopefully that's what it looks like to us, showing up for all these babies and showing up for all these baby mamas. Bless your heart. We wish you well, truly, truly, truly wish you well and all the support you need for all of those, your whole family and all of those children to thrive, to thrive. So yay. Okay. So today as we said, we're answering the question, can I heal PE with holistic methods? And of course we say yes. So we're going to tell you how and why. But first, let's define what is premature ejaculation, because there's a lot of different approaches and a lot of different definitions and a lot of different orientations to this particular source of suffering for many, many, many penis havers. So Elena, I give it to you.
Thank you, Davy. Yes. So, whenever we're talking about premature ejaculation or PE, especially with our graduates, the people who go through our Tantra certification program, we really like to presence both the medical definition and the popular definition. We did this in our last episode as well, and that's a common thing that we do because there's typically a difference between how something is defined and how it's experienced by people, right? So let's start with our conventional or medical definition here. So premature ejaculation is, in this context, defined as a sexual dysfunction characterized by ejaculation which always, or nearly always, occurs before or within 1 minute of penetration, and the inability to delay ejaculation in all or nearly all instances of intercourse. And it also adds that this condition has a negative consequences for the individual typically. So stress, frustration, and sometimes even the avoidance of sexual intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, so that's kind of the medical definition, sometimes also the most extreme definition of it. But we'll also say that the popular definition of it is that most people believe that they have premature ejaculation if they can't last more than a few minutes. So this could be, anywhere from a couple to 5 minutes, and many men or people with penises feel like they have premature ejaculation. And we like to say that if they may feel like they have premature ejaculation because they're ejaculating before they want to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is an important distinction as well, is that they want to have autonomy over when they ejaculate.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you don't have choice over your ejaculatory response, then you have the potential to be a premature ejaculator. If you ejaculate more quickly than you want to, that's premature. You ejaculate prematurely before you want to. And so for some men, this happens occasionally, but honestly, for 99.9% of the men I've encountered in my lifetime, I will say most of them ejaculate more quickly than they want to all of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've looked at a number of different studies that say average time of penetration in the US is somewhere between like 2 to 7 minutes. Other studies say 5 to 10 minutes. So there's a lot of pain. Like there's a lot of men out there who are in pain, feeling like they're not enough as a
Mm-hmm.
result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a tremendous source of suffering both for the individual and the partner. So I remember when I was doing personal tantra coaching in Vancouver, Canada, and one of the clients that came to work with me was a gentleman in his 50s, a businessman, wonderful man. And he had never in his entire life been able to last longer than 30 seconds to a minute, like whether he's with himself or whether he was with his partner. And after, I think, 20 years of marriage or something like that, his wife was just like, look, this is like, I don't know if it was 20 years of marriage, but it was a long, they had been married a long time. And she was just like, she was just done, right? Which is why he came for Tantra. Usually people like, they wait until the final minute to come for Tantra. And then Tantra is the thing that works. But anyway, he came to me for Tantra coaching, and I guided him through the methods that we teach: relaxing, using ocean breath, meditating, doing our orgasmic awareness practice that we developed. And in a training session with me, the first time using these methods, he was able to actually last for 20 minutes during self stimulation. He lasted for 20 minutes for the first time in his life. And that was a freaking miracle to him. And then he followed up with me a little bit later and said that he had been able to last for 40 minutes with his wife after that, the first time in their entire marriage.
Wow.
I don't know what happened after that because we didn't stay in contact. But those are just kind of like, those are the miracle things. That's why I was like, I just kept teaching, because I was just like the miracles that so many people experience when they approach their sexuality from through a holistic lens, and they take into consideration, all the aspects of our humanity, our childhood, our stresses, our stressors, our trauma, the stress that we experience in our life, toxic stress, our relationships, our self-talk, our race, our gender, our society. Like all of it goes into our sexual experience and our experience of ourselves as sexual beings. So yeah, it's been so rewarding and so healing for me to bear witness to the transformation that occurs for so many people when they are willing to, again, approach their sexuality through a holistic lens and implement some of the methods that we teach. The results are, the consequences are good. They're
Yeah.
generally always good.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I have had similar experiences, Davy, where when I've had clients with premature ejaculation, they were able to last for those 20 minutes relatively quickly. So I think what I want to say is there are answers, right? There are things that you can do to help with this condition, and like anything that is worth doing, they just take a lot of time, focus, and practice in
Mhm.
order to implement.
And sometimes not a lot of time. Sometimes you see
Yeah.
results pretty quickly. But in order
Yeah.
to I would say, in order to rewire your ejaculatory response, it does take some time. We're not talking years, but it takes time and commitment to your self pleasure practice, which I
Mhm.
know can be hard for some folks. But generally, I'm going to say most, at least American men, are inclined to a self pleasure practice. So we're inviting you that your self pleasure practice can actually be training. You can actually be training, sexology training, sexuality training. So we're talking about definitions of premature ejaculation. And I think one of the things that stands out for me in all of those definitions is when we take into consideration that you were saying the average time of penetration 2 to 7 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, whatever that window is, it is less than the 20 to 40 minutes required, generally required, for a woman's internal erectile tissue to fully engorge. And now this doesn't, when we say that takes 20 to 40 minutes for the female bodies, for the internal erectile tissue to fully engorge, we don't mean that it takes 20 to 40 minutes of penetration, though 20 40 minutes of penetration is generally a good thing. But she, ideally your partner is already at least 10 to 20 minutes engorged before you even penetrate her, right? And it's actually fun because I was talking with some younger gentlemen, and I was giving them the 20 to 40 minute thing for a woman's erectile tissue to fully engorge, and they was like, yeah, wow, I feel like I've been attacked as soon as I walked in the door. So it's like how does that relate to her needing 20 to 40 minutes now? It's like, well, it sounds like she was probably thinking herself into arousal before you ever got home. So, so she was ready when you walked in the door because he's looking at me, he's like, I don't think I've ever had to wait 20 to 40 minutes for my partner to be like, to jump my bones. Anyway, I thought that was a funny story because
Well,
yeah, it doesn't have to be 20 to 40 minutes of penetration and
and
still,
there's a difference. Yeah, and there's a difference between like desire and physical response, right? So some of us have an immediate desire for sex, and then but there's a difference between that and whether your body's truly warmed up and engorged. So it might still feel good, but maybe just not as good as it could feel if you had that time, right?
yeah, and one of the things that I very much explored in my personal training was that the different stages of of engorgement, right? So it's like, you first get started, and like if we think of our pleasure on a scale from 1 to 10, this is one of the things we teach, the pleasure scale. That came from Carla Tara, so I'll give her credit for instructing me in the pleasure scale. So one of the things we talk about is like the different degrees or different levels of pleasure. 10 being the most pleasure, one being the least. So when you first start pleasuring, whatever you've been thinking yourself to arousal, and you first start getting aroused, you may be like at the first stages of engorgement. And I found the first stages of engorgement like 0 to 10 minutes, and then after about the 10-minute mark, approximately, like a whole other again portal of pleasure begins to open, and then it's like the 10 to 20 minute engorgement, and then 20 to 30 minutes. Like, wow, it's really, each level of engorgement has its own kind of line of demarcation in terms of the sensation that becomes available to us as
Mm.
we move into deeper and deeper stages of engorgement. So anyway, that's a little tutorial on female engorgement and why being able to last longer than 2 to 7 minutes is really important for y'all. Because even if she's at her first level of engorgement in 10 minutes and you penetrate her, but then you ejaculate in 5 minutes, she still isn't fully warmed up. She still doesn't have a full erection. So imagine those times when you haven't been able to achieve a full erection. It may still feel nice stimulating yourself, guys, but it's not the same as when you have a big, hard, throbbing, pulsing erection. That's a whole different experience of sensation. So same for people with vaginas. Our erectile tissue, our penis is inside. And when it's fully engorged, 20, 30, 40 minutes in, it's like a big, hot, throbbing penis erection. Like the amount of sensation is mind blowing. So even if you spend she's engorged, and even if you've done your wonderful job pleasuring her and all of that, like when you penetrate her and you're only able to last 5 or 10 minutes, she still isn't able to experience the glory of her own orgasm. And also, I just want to say 5 minutes of cock is not nearly enough. If I'm going to get all warmed up and my yoni's gonna get all wet, you better be bringing me more than 5 motherfucking minutes. I'm just saying, like that is not nearly enough lingam. Because here's the thing: for those of us yoni owners who love lingam, it's actually balancing for us. So that gets into like the energy dynamics. You want to talk about polarity in tantra and how to balance your polarities. Well, a full, wet, throbbing yoni is full of feminine energy or yoni energy, and a full, hot, throbbing lingam is full of masculine energy or lingam energy. And so you balance each other out. So when my male partner makes love with me, when he loved me long time with his lingam, so to speak, it's nourishing for me. I get that male essence in my body, and it's youthful. It helps with everything. It's medicine for us. My male energy is medicine for to help balance out my other stuff, and my female energy is balancing for my male partner. So we balance out those poles when we're able to love each other long time, make love long time, have long periods of penetration. The lingam actually acts as a balance. and the source of nourishment. That's been my experience and my understanding from a tantric perspective. And there's
Mhm.
like reference to that in, Tibetan medicine, and there's reference to that in Taoist sexology. And that's what helped me inform my experience of that. So, or my understanding of that. So anyway, back to premature ejaculation. This is all why you want to learn to control your winds, learn to control your ejaculatory response so you can love yourself and your partner long time. That's a cultural reference for all you Zoomers that may be watching this. So what was it? Platoon? Was that the movie? Do you know that culture? Love You Long Time?
I don't. I'm
You don't know
sorry.
that?
I
Oh,
don't know it.
okay. So all you Gen X that are listening out there, you will know this reference, Love You Long Time. I think it was from the movie Platoon by Oliver Stone, and it's a movie about the Vietnam War, and they're in Vietnam, and there's one of the sex workers who goes up to one of the American soldiers and is like, I love you long time. Some live less anyway. Anyway, I butchered that, so please excuse me. Also, Luke Skywalker and Naughty by Nature use that as well. Love you long time. Learn to love you long time. Something like that. Anyway, so you can look it up. Cultural reference. I butchered it. I apologize. Moving on.
Don't, don't worry, Davey. So
God,
let's
before I throw my ass further.
so, so let's talk about some of the things that contribute to having premature ejaculation. So there are a number of different factors that might be involved in having this. So the first one that I like to talk about are the psychological contributors. So things like anxiety, trauma, and stress can all be things that contribute to having premature ejaculation. So some of the examples of this could be if you're shamed for touching your penis when you're a little kid or an older kid, right? But this most often happens when young men are little and their diaper comes off and they start touching their penis in public and they're shamed for it, right? This can be, you know, a shame around masturbation, right? Like trying to masturbate as quickly as possible because you're afraid someone's going to catch you. This could be possibly circumcision trauma. This could be any kind of negative trauma around your sexuality could contribute to premature ejaculation because, as we've talked about before, those experiences can lodge in our bodies, lodge in our tissue, and affect how our tissue behaves. Yeah. Do you want to add anything to that, Davy?
Well, just what I was going to talk about, which is the grandfather of somatic psychology, somatics, Wilhelm Reich, theorized that premature. He spoke specifically to premature ejaculation because his whole body of work, or the body of work that he's largely known for, has to do with somatic sexology, right? The somatics of sex, and so he theorized that premature ejaculation was essentially an obstacle, was some type of block in the pelvic area, which was a specifically resulted from children, young boys, being shamed for self-pleasure or masturbation in their youth. So the idea is that, when you're a little kid, usually little kids play with their genitals, right? And they're like, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, they're walking around and they play with their genitals. A very human thing to do.
Yep.
It's a beautiful, beautiful little thing, right? So this is where your environment comes in, having a holistic lens. So if you were a child walking around in pleasuring your genitals, and somebody in your environment, whether it's a parent, teacher, or caregiver, shames you for that, or says good boys don't do that, or says yells at you, that could be a shock trauma. That could be a trauma that lodges in your body. And then through the years, over time, so it creates a block in the body essentially. And Willem Reich is saying it would create a block in the flow of energy, specifically in the pelvis. And so over time, that block becomes more substantial. And so then you find yourself as a teenager or an adult, as begin, your sexual energy starts to rise and it hits that block, and then all of your sexual energy just comes shooting out of your penis, because your sexual energy needs to move and spread. But if your pelvis is all blocked up, there's nowhere for it to go. And also, if it's hitting an emotional block, that means you're emotionally uncomfortable. So you're not going to want to be present with that energy or that emotion. You're going to want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. And that's actually one of the most challenging things I've seen for men in learning to last longer and ultimately become multi-orgasmic is when they use ejaculation as a way to disperse energy or get rid of stress when they
Mm,
go through the process of retaining, and not just ejaculating when they feel, uncomfortable, when they actually learn to like relax and expand their capacity for sensation. That's one of the most challenging things is the emotional transformation that you need to go through in order to be able to last longer. Generally there's an emotional component to premature ejaculation. So
yeah.
encountering that and acknowledging that and uncovering what that is can be challenging. It can be emotionally challenging for people to move through that specific block. So that's what I would add to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to add to everything we're talking about in terms of the the physical aspects of premature ejaculation, there's also kind of like a growing body of evidence to suggest that our nervous system state has something to do with it as well. So,
Huge.
with a lot of the sexual dysfunctions kind of across the board, what we often see in studies on them is that there's folks who have, say, lifelong premature ejaculation often show increased sympathetic nervous system output and decreased parasympathetic nervous system output. So, your parasympathetic is your like your calm, like your rest and feed state. Your sympathetic is your fight or flight state. And so we're seeing that in people who have this, they have more of the fight or flight response activated on a regular basis in their nervous systems.
And that would speak to the trauma thing, right? Because that's one of the underlying symptoms of particularly for childhood trauma or, PTSD is a hypervigilance in the nervous system. And hypervigilance means there's more sympathetic output than parasympathetic output in resting states, right? Because we need sympathetic output when we need to fight or flight,
Yeah.
right? But when we're in a resting state, or even when we're trying to have sex and there's too much sympathetic output, then that interferes with the other, with our ability to rest and relax and receive, right, and experience. It diminishes our capacity for pleasure and sensation. That hypervigilance. So that is symptomatic of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So in addition to those, we also have some physical contributors. So one of the most common are pelvic floor issues. So essentially a weak pelvic floor is typically a tense pelvic floor. And so when you have a really tense pelvic floor and you're using those muscles to hold up I'm sorry, when you're using those muscles to hold up your erection, you're putting a lot of tension on a system that is already a little bit weak. And so there's a lot of stress and strain going into that. And therefore, it's theorized that you have less control over your ejaculatory response because your muscles are working so hard to keep the erection going.
So there's
Um,
tension.
yeah,
Yeah. So premature ejaculation, it's like all about tension, whether it's in the pelvic floor or the pelvis in general or the belly, but it's tension. It's tension related.
yep, yep. And there also have been some studies suggesting that if you have good control over your pelvic floor, that you might have better control over your urethral sphincter, which can help
Mm.
to, control whether your semen goes into the penile urethra uh, in order to create ejaculation.
Well, that's amazing for semen retention, right? So regardless of whether or not, even if you're just wanting to last longer, that's good news. But if you're wanting to actually separate orgasm from ejaculation, that's an argument for your pelvic floor work. So that's going to help facilitate your body's ability to have orgasms without expulsion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellente.
So, should we talk about how to resolve it?
Oh, well, let me talk first about the downward voiding winds because
Oh, yes.
that's the physiology, but also in holistic sexology, we also address the energy body. So, as Elena was saying, physiologically, there's tension in the pelvic floor, there's hypervigilance in the nervous system. Willem Reich was speaking specifically about energy blocks causing the response in the autonomic nervous system of premature ejaculation. And so, keeping in mind for those of you who may be new to our work, in our understanding of the energy body and the physical body, which comes from the lens of Tibetan Tantric Buddhism, the energy body is senior to the physical body. So, what that means essentially is everything manifests energetically before it does physically, which means that if we can address the energetic issues, which sometimes is often easier for some people to address the energetic issues, it will then translate to the physical body and the physical experience. So, in Tibetan Buddhist Tantra, I'll say in Tibetan medicine, there are 5 wind energies of the body. So the winds are currents that carry energy throughout your body. So we have, vital life force energy that needs to be, carried throughout the body to nourish the organs and to nourish the form. And there's 5 primary winds. We're not going to go through all those 5 winds right now. But the one of importance that we will address right now is something called your downward voiding winds. Your downward voiding winds. So your downward voiding winds are responsible for both retaining and excreting everything that comes out of your lower end. So your pee, your poo, your menstrual blood, your ejaculate, your orgasm, your babies that you push out, like everything that comes out of your lower end is governed by those downward voiding winds. And so in our work, we've been able to see how effectively addressing those wind energies is when approaching premature ejaculation or semen retention. So I'll give you an example. When I first started training in Tantra, my mentor had a client who had severe premature ejaculation, severe meaning like less than a minute, had it his whole life, had no control. I don't know anything about his history of trauma or anything. I just know that there was one method that my mentor recommended to this guy, and he recommended that this guy do it every morning and every night and every day for the next 2 weeks, and then to report back and let him know. Within 1 to 2 weeks, I kid you not, this man's experience had completely transformed. He was lasting, I don't know, I can't tell you how long because I can't remember. This was 17 years ago. But he went from being able to last for less than a minute to satisfying his female partner. Like it was night and day revolutionary.
Wow.
And it was this one specific method that trains the downward voiding wind specifically. So my mentor addressed just the wind energies, just gave this dude instruction on how he can harness, strengthen, tone, and control his downward voiding winds. And in 2 weeks, it was like night and day. And we've seen this consistently in our work. The downward voiding winds play an undeniable and critical role in the function. I mean, it's Tibetan medicine and the function of your entire body, but particularly your sexual reproductive organs. I've also
Mhm.
seen downward voiding wind work help with constipation, right?
Yeah.
Constipation,
Mhm.
diarrhea, childbearing, incontinence for women after bearing children, right? So re-strengthening and retoning the pelvic floor and the vagina after childbirth. So those downward voiding winds are really, really, really important. And we have practices and exercises that we instruct you in specifically to help harness those downward voiding winds. I think we call them the downward voiding wind exercises. That's what we call
The
them.
power wind
The
exercises.
power wind exercises. That's what we call them. The power wind exercises. That's what they are. So the power wind exercises. But what they're designed to do is work with the breath and muscular contraction to train and strengthen those downward voiding winds so that you have choice. So the wind energies, I'm going to give you another analogy. The wind energies are like think of a wild horse, right? And so when you start sexually stimulating, it's like the horse goes out of control. It's like leaves you behind. You fall off and the horse is still going, right? So what the downward voiding winds do is it puts like a steel bit in that horse's mouth and gives you the reins of control back. That
Mm.
you're not just woo swept away, that you're actually able to ride those winds. It gives you control, and it allows you to use your breath, again, use your breath and muscular contractions to learn to settle in the saddle and like get comfortable riding those winds. And when it comes to premature ejaculation, it's really important for you as the lingam owner, as the penis owner, to work with your own winds first before you try penetrating another body. Because when you penetrate another body, your winds are encountering their winds. And if their winds are all crazy, they're going to just throw you off your game totally. So you need to be a master. You need to be masterful and rooted in your ability to manage your downward voiding winds. And I'm going to use the word manipulate even your downward voiding winds so that you can pull back on those reins of movement when you want to, and also let them rip, let them ride when you want to as well. So you need to have mastered your own downward voiding winds, or we highly recommend that you have mastered your own downward voiding winds to a degree before you attempt to penetrate a partner and have their downward voiding winds just throw you off your game, as we said. So that's another little instruction. So I guess I want to clarify, because people always, pick things out in these conversations. We're not saying you can't have sex until you've gained control of your downward voiding winds. We're just saying we highly recommend that you practice gaining control of your winds solo first with yourself, and then try applying your practice with a partner. So like I would say train hard for a week on your own and then go try some partner play, and then train hard for another week on your own and then go try some partner play, and you'll hopefully start to see some results from that. So anyway, that's that.
It's just like a sport, right?
Yeah, it's
You could even
training.
try something new on in competition day, right? Not
Yes,
the sex is a
exactly.
competition, but during the main event, you wouldn't try something new. You would practice it
Yes.
in practice. So
Yeah, like dance moves, right? It's like sports, or I always like choreography, right? So you want to
yeah,
practice your choreography before you bring it out on the stage, right? You want to practice your jump shot or whatever it is before you unleash it at the big game, the playoffs, right? You don't want to be trying these moves at the playoffs that you haven't even practiced, right? You may have some luck, but you may not.
exactly.
All right, so that's the
Uh,
downward voiding winds and the importance of the downward voiding winds. And so the beautiful thing about the downward voiding winds being energetic, it means that you can use energy, you can use breath, you can use your attention, and you can use muscular contractions to harness and gain control of those downward voiding winds, which is going to help you last as long as you want to ultimately.
yeah.
Yeah, you're here.
Okay. So should we talk about some methods?
Yeah, so let's talk about what Western mainstream conventional people recommend.
Yes. So let's see how we feel about these. So, Davy, a number one on the list of conventional recommendations that I was researching was numbing creams or numbing sprays. How do you feel about that as something to use with PE?
I'm outraged. No, I really, again, this is holistic sexology, and I would say I'll speak through a compassionate lens. I would say if the numbing cream is giving you some confidence to be able to show up for your partner, then use it as a crutch. And at the same time, it's not a cure. And these numbing creams, like I don't know what's in them. I just like it's not a long-term solution. I wouldn't I invite you to consider that it's not a long-term solution. So use it as you need it, but I highly recommend in the background actually addressing the cause of the issue. Because as we said in the beginning, the cause of the issue is probably related to some wounding, quite frankly. whether in childhood or adulthood, and it's having an impact on your physiology. It's having an impact on your pelvic floor. It's having an impact on your autonomic nervous system and your sexual functioning. And so, if you're able to address the root cause, you can correct it, and you can correct it forever. And I guarantee you, particularly if it's trauma related, once you dissolve that wound and heal your heart, again, it's going to make all aspects of your life so much bigger for you and for your partner. So, numbing creams, use them with caution. Yeah. And I would highly recommend addressing the root cause because the numbing creams don't. They're a mask.
Yeah, yeah. I feel very similarly too. Yes, if it's something they need to have that confidence, go for it. But where I feel concerned is that so much of what we've seen be successful in our work is somatic healing. So the ability to t tune into the body and tune into places where your body is numb, irritated, or painful, which indicates that there's a block in the tissue, so that you can be present with that block and let it arise and move through you. So, some of what you're going to be doing, if you're working with these methods to heal premature ejaculation, is really paying attention to those blocks because on the other side of that block, you may have more control, more pleasure. Again, it's a holistic healing modality, so that's a part of it. I really want my clients to both be able to gain control and to increase their sensation. Both are possible, right? They can increase their pleasure capacity and gain control. And I'm
Mhm.
concerned about the numbing creams kind of pushing against that goal, if that
I
makes sense.
love that you said that. Both increase sensation and last longer. Because, like, again, that's the holy grail again, right? Like, that's the thing. Thank you for bringing that up about the numbing creams because it's decreasing sensation. It's decreasing. It's decreasing. It's a decreasing measure, not an expansion measure, not an expansion method. So, again, if you need to use for short term, whatever you need to support, but know that it's a support and not a cure. And highly recommend moving out of it. So what else? What else have we got on this list of conventional recommendations?
Two is kind of similar. It's climax control condoms, so condoms that are thicker and provide less sensation for the individual.
Which I didn't want to have to drill down into these too much because I want this to deliver this to you in an hour. But I do want to say about the when you said the thicker condoms. So one of the beautiful things about penetration, penetrative intercourse, is that both the penis and the orifice that you are penetrating there's an energetic exchange. We know that when it's unsheathed, when you're not wearing a condom, we know that there's fluid bonding and hormones and all sorts of stuff, but there's also energy bonding, right? There's also an energy transference, which may or may not be desirable depending on who you're having sex with. You may not want to be absorbing their energy. And in that case, definitely use condoms. Condoms are not just a barrier to birth control. Condoms are also an energetic barrier so that you're not absorbing each other's energy to its fullest extent if you don't want to, right? So, but the thing with the climax control condoms, again, use them if particularly if you don't want to be exchanging energy with people. But I'm thinking for the woman on the other side of that climax condom, she's not going to feel as much of you as she wants to. And that's the thing. Like the whole point of penetrative intercourse is you union. You become one being. You merge your central channels. You become one circuit of energy, right? And so if you're using a very thick condom with someone that you want to be merging with, that kind of defeats the purpose. So I would say the climax control condoms are going to be a problem if you are making love with somebody that you want to be bonded with. It's going to prevent deep bonding as well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Number three, Ayurvedic and Chinese herbs.
Highly recommend.
I'd say those can be great. I would give a caveat of make sure that you're getting them from a reputable source. So there's lots of like dick pills out there that you can just order online or you don't know where they're coming from. So you really want to make sure that you're actually working with a practitioner of Ayurveda or a practitioner of Chinese medicine so that you're getting the real thing,
Oh
not
yeah.
just some
What I've
mail
learned
order herbs.
what I've learned about herbs, I've been studying and utilizing herbs since for like 30 years. I'm not kidding. And like what I've learned about herbs is y'all, you don't want to just be buying shit on the internet and like seriously, like like you deserve to go to an actual Chinese medicine practitioner and find out that you might not even need herbs. They might just be able to boom, 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 and like unlock some blocks in your channel and bada boom, bada bang, you know? So you're worth getting care, getting specialized support to see if you can get to the root of the issue and have it corrected. You deserve that. So second Elena, like, don't just be buying shit on the internet and work with a practitioner, work with somebody qualified to actually support you because you deserve that.
Yeah. Number four, the stop start technique.
Oh, edging. Is that what that is? Edging? Yeah.
Yeah, it's edging.
Yeah, so some folks find that supportive. I would say conventional edging is, don't get me started on conventional stuff, but conventional edging is limited because it doesn't, again, it's not holistic. It doesn't include the whole person and it doesn't include your breath, which is a very important piece of the puzzle. So the
Mhm.
concept of arousal, allowing yourself to have arousal and then relaxing with that sensation and then bringing your arousal up and then relaxing with it, or I guess stop start is just stopping. It's not undoing the tension. That's the thing. You're getting aroused, but you're stopping, but there's tension there, there's constriction. That's not going to allow, that's not helping you relax with sensation and expand your capacity. You have to relax with that. You have to relax with the sensation, not just constrict around the sensation. So I find most conventional methods of anything partially useful, limited in scope and limited in use, because they rarely take into account all of the mechanisms that go into being human.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. No additions.
Ditto.
Um, five is the pause squeeze technique. So I'm mostly seeing this recommended as just like squeezing the top of the penis just below the head when they get to a place where they feel like they're going to ejaculate. Um, I know, like, for me, this is not a bad technique, but I'd say that there's more to it than that for it to be really effective. So what do you think, Davy?
I think we should tell them what we do.
Okay, yeah. I'm being shy. Go ahead.
So there's all that. And then this is what we do from a holistic perspective. First of all, if you are suffering from premature ejaculation, you're going to want to practice, and your practice, you want to practice these methods to antidote it, right? And your practice is going to consist of self pleasure, solo pleasure. So number one, you are going to approach it as a sacred practice, as a connection practice. This is a beautiful, profound opportunity for you to attune to and connect more deeply with your beautiful body and your sexual functioning and heal. This is a precious gift that you are giving yourself. You are not just jacking off into a sock. You are about to engage in a sacred ritual of self-healing. Number one, those are the instructions from Davy. That's what you're going to do first. Number two, create your temple, clean your room, make your bed, light some candles, put on some juicy music, give yourself the gift and of a sensual temple. You deserve that. And I know life is hard. I know it is, but you can light a candle. Take a shower first. Prepare as if you are inviting a precious person, a precious guest into into your apartment or into your environment. And that precious guest is you. You are that precious guest. Okay? So set up your space, and clinical studies have shown that when you do this, when you have like dim lights and aromas and these things in your environment, it actually primes your nervous system. It helps support that parasympathetic response. So remember, we said that PE, there's indicators that there's too much sympathetic output. So making a little sacred temple space actually helps support your nervous system. It helps support that parasympathetic output. It's setting the stage for a successful outcome. So that's what we recommend. First is reframing it so that what you are doing is cultivation. It's cultivating your sexual power. That's a precious thing. And number two, you're going to create sacred space for your sacred practice. Number three, and this is part of number two, is get your lube out. I don't care if you think you don't need lube. I'm going to invite you to try. Invite you to try holistic types of lube. Our favorite lube company is called The Butters, thebutters.com. Love that lube. They've got palm grease specifically for self pleasure. They've got cocoa butter. They've got aloe. They've got CBD. They have it. They have all. They've got silicone.
It's
They have
awesome.
the goods, and it's all vegan. Blah, blah, all the good stuff that you can say about. Sorry, my mouth wasn't working right then. But it's body safe. That's the word that I was trying to say. Body safe. It's good stuff. You can eat it. I've had it in my mouth and it tastes good. Like, it's good stuff, right? Love the butters. So have your lube out and experiment with it, because the lube can actually support your lasting longer by decreasing friction. Okay, decreasing friction and by giving more glide to it. So you got your lube. And then we're going to invite you to meditate before you masturbate. So invite you to sit up or relax and focus on your breath. And we do have specific meditation practices that we instruct you in our ejaculation mastery courses and our Tantra Healing for Men course. So we do have specific instructions, but if you haven't taken those courses or you're not inclined to, just, meditate. So whether it's sitting upright and following your breath, or whether it's laying back, but the goal is to just be present with your breath in the moment. Now, I will say, if you are new to meditation, pausing and getting present with your breath can be activating. If you start, being mindful breathing and you start to feel agitated, it usually means that you've got energy or wounding or trauma in the body that needs to be dispersed. So in that case, I would invite you to just get up and move around. Disperse the energy, shake it off. Not that I'm a Taylor Swift fan, but I'll call her in. Taylor Swift, shake it off, right? Shake it off, and then come back, right? So you don't have to. If you have uncomfortable feelings arise, like anxiety when you're following your breath, you don't have to fuck through it. You don't have to force yourself to the other side. You can get up, shake off that energy, and then come back, and you'll have a much easier time. Meditation should not be torture. Meditation is easy when you're doing it correctly, right? So follow your breath, get present with your breath. Then recommend that, again, you lay back and get comfortable. Put one hand over your beautiful heart center and one hand over your belly or your genitals, and do some deep breathing into your body. In through your nose, out through your mouth is a really wonderful technique for activating the ventral vagal pathway. Look up the vagus nerve. If you're not familiar with the vagus nerve, look up the vagus nerve so you understand what you're doing with your breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. So you're going to be creating a nice relaxed balance in the nervous system. Okay. And then from there, you can begin pleasuring yourself. And the key is, remember this pleasure scale. 10 is woo, your horse is riding away. Your horse is over the cliff if you're at a 10. And your 1 is just getting started. So I would say for you all, anytime you feel yourself, if you suffer from premature ejaculation, anytime you feel yourself even come up to like a 4 or 5, pause, relax, and breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. And you just keep cycling through this. You're pleasuring yourself, and oop, pause, relax, and breathe. And pleasure yourself, whoop, pause, relax, and breathe. And just, this is dancing. That's why you want some good music on. You're just going to dance your pleasure. Dance and just like ride the waves of sensation, ride the waves of pleasure, and just gently working yourself up that scale, Gently, gently, slowly, and pausing every time you start to feel whoop. Just relax. Breathe, relax, pause, and ocean breath, or Vegas breath, however you want to call it. Relax, pause, and deep breathe. That's what you want to do to help retrain your winds to relax with sensation. And then the other thing we would recommend, I'm hogging the mic here, Elena, I'll let you go in a
That's
minute.
okay.
But the other thing we recommend are those power wind exercises to gain control of your downward voiding winds. And those are things that you do outside of your sexual experience. You can also do them while you're self pleasuring, but ideally you're doing them morning and night. And instructions for those, again, you can find in our ejaculation mastery training program for men, which again is affordably priced, and you can do a month-to-month option, and or our tantra healing program for men. So those tools are available to you so that you can begin retraining your body, mind, spirit, and sex so that you have choice and control around if and when you ejaculate.
Beautiful.
Imagine going from no control to having choice, y'all. Like, imagine if you had choice. Imagine when you are with a wonderful, beautiful, sexy partner and you can move into that situation confidently, knowing that you have choice, that you have control over the wind energies in your pelvis. What a profound healing that will be for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just wanting to note that, and we talked about this in the last episode, but when you're in that slow, sacred masturbation practice, you also want to do that without the use of pornography or other external kind of stimulants. You really want to be tuned into your own body and observing what your body and your emotions are doing during that time.
100%. You're not going to gain control of your ejaculatory response if you're not present in your body, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, you have to be present, you have to be attuned, which is why some people avoid it, because it takes courage. It's not easy and it takes courage, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And I'm not, those aren't just words and we're blowing smoke up your ass. It's worth it because we've walked the walk, we walk the talk. We walk our talk and we talk our walk. We do both. We do all the things. And so it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And it does take courage. It absolutely does. So if you need support, from the people in your life, from counseling or whatever, ask for it. We're not meant to heal in these isolated little caves on our own. We do need each other for healing and transformation. And if you want support from Tantra coaches and holistic sexology coaches, then of course you can always call us. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
HolisticSexologyInstitute.com. HolisticSexologyInstitute.com. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing that I like about presencing masturbation first, like yes, like we said, you're training, you're doing your training before you get to the big game or the big performance. But also it helps you really observe and gain confidence as well, because as you said before, Davy, stress is such a big part of premature ejaculation. So one of the cycles that men are going to have to interrupt with this is the cycle of knowing that they struggle to last longer and getting stressed about it when they're having sex with their partner, right? It's because that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like the more you get stressed out about, oh my God, like I'm not going to be able to do it, the more your stress levels go up, that sympathetic activation goes up, which makes you more likely to lose control, right? So having that time to practice and gain confidence and practice breathing and relaxing with pleasure will help you interrupt that cycle as well when you're with your partner.
Absolutely, because you can breathe and relax with pleasure with your partner, but also when you're doing this we'll call it like ritual self pleasure, and you're cultivating this ability to attune to your body and your emotions and the moving energy in your body. That's connection, right? And then when you're with your partner, if you can take your focus off of what's going on with you, and you're like, that inner chattering, when am I gonna last? Am I not gonna last? And you can focus it on connecting with your partner. So instead of connecting with the thoughts and the anxiety in your head, you're going to be connecting with your partner. So by doing your solo practice, you're training your focus. You're training your ability to direct your focus where you want. Instead of with porn, you're focusing out here and you're focusing on what the porn people want you to be focusing on, not necessarily your own body and your own responses. So when you're cultivating your ability to focus on your own body and your own responses, then you can then direct that focus to your partner. So if you're having this anxiety come up, you can just kind of shift your focus and focus on how good it feels to be connected with your partner emotionally, right? And that will take some of the stress off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, I'd say when you first start doing this and you do start making love with your partner again, it's really important to communicate with your partner about what you're doing, like why, how you're trying to resolve your PE, and that your sex might look a little different for a while too, because you're going to need to slow down and really be attached and maybe take breaks. Um, as you're beginning to gain control when you're in partnership with someone as well. So, uh, kind of like setting those expectations with your partner so that they're on board and they can support you in taking those breaks and slowing down. And then knowing that once you start gaining control, your sex is gonna shift and evolve.
Sex is a team sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're on the same team. And pleasure is
Yeah.
the goal. Pleasure and connection are the goals. All right, y'all. So we've been here with you for probably over an hour at this point. And so we're going to wrap it up and just once again express our gratitude that you're listening to us and letting us up all up in your ear holes, shall we say? So thank you very much for following us, for listening to us, because we do this to for you, for us, but also for you. So it's a win-win for everybody. And it's always wonderful when you show up. It really meets our needs for confidence and validation and all those good words. And if you have any questions, make sure you send them to questions at holisticsexologyinstitute.com, questions at holisticsexologyinstitute.com, or you can DM us on Instagram. We love getting your questions on Instagram, or comment on this post, comment on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe everywhere. And if you're in one of our ejaculation mastery training programs or any of our online training programs, feel free to shoot us a question, and we are happy to answer it both in the program for you and on an episode if you would like. If you don't want us to answer a question on the episode, make sure you let us know that too. Okay, so you can get our methods for transforming and healing premature ejaculation once again at holisticsexologyinstitute.com in our ejaculation mastery for men program that was designed to support all men in separating orgasm from ejaculation, but specifically addressing premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction. All right, my guys. All right, my friends. If there's anything else you want to say, Elena?
Nothing else for now.
Woohoo! All right. Thank you so much for joining us for your weekly dose of Sex is Medicine, and we will see you next week. Same time, same bat channel. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to Sex is Medicine, your #1 resource for holistic sex education.
Make sure you like and subscribe to Sex is Medicine on all your listening platforms, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, where you can get your daily dose of Sex is Medicine videos and episode recaps. Also, make sure you register for your weekly dose of Sex is Medicine at holisticsexologyinstitute.com and send us your questions, please, at questions at holisticsexologyinstitute.com. Thank you so much for listening to Sex is Medicine.